Miss Coffee Brown. How are you doing
Okay.
this morning?
I am incredible. Don is the man. How are you, Don?
I'm doing well. Are you at your school already?
Yes, Don. I got here and I kind of snuck out on another building just to come in here and hear your voice today. I literally had to sneak out of my building.
Listen. Excited to hear. Was there any feedback from the event we held at your school?
Yes, Don. Thank you so much for asking. I had a couple of individuals, especially Mel. He's a business credit strategist here in Houston, and he's eagerly anticipating, as well as my business partner, Jason Thibodeau, being able to tap into you. So right now, they're just learning from your YouTube channel, and when they're ready to pull that trigger, they're gonna get in contact with you, Don. The children actually enjoyed it as well. I had a couple students to say they told their mama that she using their money for something you told them. Right?
I told the kids, I said, your parents are spending your inheritance on interest.
Yeah, that baby went and told her mama, honey. The mama got hot.
Have mercy. But listen, those kids, I mean, they were excited. They were excited. I wish you could have been there when we did that example for them, Coffee, because what I did was I showed them an amortization schedule. I showed them where 80% of the payment for the mortgage or loan was going to interest, and they're only paying 20% of it towards what they wanted. So I asked the kids, I said, what do you want to buy? And then they said, oh, we want to buy some Jordans. I said, well, how much are those Jordans going to cost you? They said about $200. I said, well, let me lend you the money. All right. So I'm going to, let's pretend we're loaning you the money, and you're just going to pay $100 a month to pay me back. I said, well, how long should it take? They said about 2 months. Yeah, 2 months. And so I said, now we're taking a look at this loan I have on the screen, and you understood that part of that's going to interest. You didn't like it. So I'm going to say, let's charge you interest at the same rate that we're doing here. So I brought 5 students up and gave them all $20 each. Okay. And I said, now, so if we're going to buy these shoes the same way, you're going to pay $100. Let me show you what's going to happen. This student that's holding the $20, that's going to pay for the shoes that month. The $80, the 4 of you that are holding $20, you go to the bank for interest. None of your money goes on the shoes. $80 goes to the bank. Only $20 out of your $100 goes to the shoes. They said, no way. We're not spending our money that way. Oh my goodness. If you could have seen their faces, they got so excited, especially can you imagine some students getting excited about receiving a book about finances? Coffee, it was tremendous. I know you're probably busy now talking to your students, but listen, thank you so much.
Don, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna stay in this little spot. But you know what? And I saw your book, a couple of the adults.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Don?
Yes.
Okay. So a couple of the adults had the publication with that handsome smiling face in the library, and they were like so excited about just being able to read the information. So I'm telling you, it's an exciting time here, and it's so amazing because the children, they literally are understanding that they're being robbed, and they're not cool with it.
No, they're not. They're not cool with it at all. So I loved talking to the students. Loved talking to the students. And so even my producer has my book ready to put up on the screen. So let's go ahead and put that up because I see it there. And here's the book that all the 8th graders now. 8th graders are excited about this book. I signed it for them and gave every single one of them that I talked to a book, and I had to bring all those books in a suitcase. You saw my suitcase, Coffee. But we gave those books out and we signed each and every one of them for the students and gave them some practical advice about how they can save money on interest, and I pointed them to my YouTube channel. And listen, they were using their phones and computers in the classroom looking up stuff, Coffee. You know, one student asked me, out of all of that, one student asked me, how much money do you make? You know, I had to tell him. I had to tell him because she asked me. Okay. She was the only one that was brave enough to ask me because, you know, we're coming in there talking to them about career day and being an entrepreneur. And they want to know, well, how much does an entrepreneur make? So I told them how much we make per month. I gave them the range. And so that was very, very exciting. So, Coffee, listen, anytime you want to introduce me to any of your folks, I would love the opportunity to talk and to develop relationships. All right, all right. I see that. I see it. I see. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's based in this book that you see. If you want to see our examples today, go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L method, and then you'll be able to find the live broadcast on YouTube. You want to go on your secondary device, like your laptop or your tablet, so you can see the examples. But right now, my book is on the screen. It has been a #1 bestseller. It's talking about the P.I.L.L method, a better way to eliminate debt. And I'm Don Daniel, the author of that book. It is the only book of its kind on Amazon out of 33 million titles, and it's been a #1 bestseller at least 6 times. You know, when it goes to #1, sometimes you don't always know. Sometimes when people are buying the book, it'll go to #1 in the middle of the night. You never know. But at least 6 times that I know of, that has gone to #1 on Amazon. And we're very appreciative of that and everyone who has bought the book. So go ahead and I'm going to put my link at the top here. And so when I put my link at the top, you'll be able to see how you can get the book on Amazon. So we're going to put it up there. ICE, the number 10, and the letter K.com. ICE10K.com. There is the link at the top of the room. Just click on that. Also, while we have the link up there, do you know I have several people who have been signing up to become an affiliate? They're getting so excited about this information, they want to share it with others. And we have set up a system where you can share this information. And also, hey, Barry, how are you? Barry is watching us on Facebook this morning. There you can click on that and find the tab that talks about becoming an affiliate. It takes about 15 seconds to fill out. Now, here is so easy to become an affiliate. What you do is fill that out and then refer people to us by clicking on. So I'm going to click on it right now. We're going to just go step by step. We're going to go to the link. All right. Just click on the link and then you see become an affiliate. All right. You click on become an affiliate. You fill that out. Okay. When you fill that out and then you click submit, and then you can go back to when you're done. You will go back to the card, all right? And then you will also see right underneath that, refer family and friends to the Interest Cancellation Expert. Once you fill that out and you find somebody who's interested in paying off their debt faster, better, cheaper, okay? They don't like what they're doing. They're already looking for a better way, okay? Then you refer them to our YouTube channel. If those folks have at least $100,000 in debt and a mortgage, you can refer them to us. And then by filling out this next card, refer your family and friends to the Interest Cancellation Expert. How do we get? So Don, I don't know enough about your program to answer any questions or to teach them anything. No. You don't have to. Once you find somebody who is interested, refer them to our YouTube channel, the P.I.L.L Method YouTube channel. They'll watch some videos, follow up with them no later than 48 hours, within 24 to 48 hours. Okay. Follow up with them and see if they're still interested. Then if they are, fill out this next one, refer family and friends. So click on that, put in their name, their phone number, their email, their zip code, and who referred them. That would be you. Okay. So you will put in there who referred you. We're not going to send that to them. Okay. Who refers, who is the referring partner? And so I'm going to actually change that sentence so it's not confusing. You put your name and your number in there. Okay. And then give me any additional information about them. When is a good time to call? Is this a family friend? Is this a relative? Anything that may be pertinent to helping me help them. Then you submit that. Okay. Once you submit that, then we take over. We will then our staff will give them a call and have them fill out a request for a savings and earnings report. Once they fill that out, then they will go for. Then we'll show them the month, day, and year they'll be debt free, how much interest they will save, and then they will become a client. Once they become a client, then we will send you out $300 for submitting that referral. How easy is that? All right. So we have some that are coming in already. So listen, don't miss out, folks. You become a part of it. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Today's topic: stop giving away 80% of your profits. Stop giving away 80% of your profits. And folks, we're getting ready to put something on the screen right now. And let me see here. Let's see, present. We're going to share the screen. All right, share screen. There we go. And there it is, screen 3. All right, so we have our amortization schedule on. And I talked about paying out 80%. Stop giving away 80% of your profits. All right, so here's the scenario, everyone. Here's the scenario. Let's start out if you are a real estate investor. And on this particular property, it's a $400,000 property. You have a $400,000 loan on it at 6% interest. And it is an investment property, and it's cash flowing over and above, all the rents that you're bringing in on this property. Then you're making about $900 a month after, taxes and insurance and the mortgage payment. $900 a month, which is pretty doggone good. All right. So let's do the math on that. I'm putting a calculator on the screen. So $900 a month. Okay. And we're going to multiply that by 12 equals $10,800 a month, a year coming in on this property, and just this one property, an extra $10,000 a year. That is the whole idea. Let the property make money. $10,000. If you're new to the room, Ms. Rosalind, if you want to see what we're doing, if you can, bring it up on a secondary device, a different device like a tablet or a computer, and then go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L method, and you'll be able to see our live broadcast. One more time, go to YouTube, search for P.I.L.L method, and then you'll be able to see our live broadcast and see these numbers on the screen. So we got $10,000 a year coming in on this. But here's the thing, folks. Every real estate investor I know is missing out on a lot of money, a ton of money. So I want to ask a question of everybody here. Everybody here, go ahead, share the room. All right. Hit that button on the bottom there, share the room, and ping some people in, because if you know a real estate investor, if you know a homeowner that may be giving away 80% of their money. Now, if you're a homeowner, think about this. If you can get equity in your home a lot cheaper without giving the bank all of that money, wouldn't that be great? And then you will be able to take that money out and invest it in something else. So take your cash and invest it. Grow your net worth using that money. So here's what we're talking about, folks. Our payment on this loan is $2,398.20. Our cash flow on this is $900 a month after we've paid out expenses. But here's my question to you. If you are the landlord, when you receive your rent checks from your tenants in this property, how much of that money is yours? When you receive your checks, whether they're in hand or it's they mail it in or it's direct deposited in your bank, when you receive that rent money, how much of that money is yours? I need to see it in the chat, right? When you receive that money, if you're online watching us, go ahead, type it in the comment section. How much of that money is yours? If you want to come to the stage and talk to me, raise your hand, come to the stage. Let's have a conversation about it. Okay. I would love to be able to talk to you. So I'm not seeing, listen, I'm not seeing any movement in the chat. All right. If you're a landlord and the landlord receives that rent money, how much of that money is, Sharon King said nothing. All right. Well, that's one view. All right. When you receive your rent money, how much of that money is yours? She says nothing, none of it. All right. Is there any other idea on this? When you receive your rent money, when somebody gives you money, how much of that money is yours? Okay. Anybody else? Thank you for responding, Ms. Sharon. Anybody else have a different response? Okay. So here's how I look at it, Ms. Sharon. If somebody gives me money, all right, as soon as they give it to me, it's mine. That is my money. All of it is my money. Now, what do I have to do with it? Now, here's the thing. It's not how much money you make. It's not how much money you're given. It's how much money you can keep. And I think that's what you're referring to, Sharon. Marlene says about 60%. Well, actually, when you receive that money, Marlene, it's about 100%. It's all your money because they gave it to you. The check is written out to you or your business. All right. So all of the money is yours. But here's the thing you want to ask yourself. How much of my money, of my 100%, how much of it do I want to keep? That is the thing. Do you see where I'm going with this? Does this make sense, everybody? Can you agree with the fact that all the money given is your money? You're just now trying to hold on to as much of it as you possibly can. And there's a certain place where we're giving away way too much money, even though we're making $10,800 a year on this deal. We're making $900 a month cash flow on this deal. But somewhere along the line, we're still giving away some money. I need you to see what's going on here and how that's happening. So we're going to scroll down and take a look at the amortization schedule. And if you're new to the room, come on up, raise your hand. All right. And come on up to talk to me. And we will go over what's going on here. Okay. So I see a few people in the room. All right. I see Letitia and I see Marlene and Sean, Alan and Joyce and Stacy and others. All right, I see you, William, and I see you, Sharon. So here's where you need to focus right now. Okay. When that renter gives you the money, when your tenants give you money, all right, out of that money, you have to pay the mortgage payment, which right now is $2,398.20. For too many years, real estate investors have looked at this as out of the money that I bring in, I've got to pay $2,398.20 out because that's the mortgage payment. And I get to keep the rest. But out of that mortgage payment, let's break the mortgage payment down. All right, we're already figured out we can make $900 a month on this deal. But I need us to not only look at that, but let's look at the mortgage payment and see if there's something in there that we can keep. How much of that payment can we keep? Let me show you something right here. let's break down the word mortgage, and then it might help you. The mortgage payment is the money you borrow. That's the mortgage payment, the money you borrow. All right. And when you're looking at that, that's called the principal. The principal is the money borrowed. And then there's rent on the money borrowed. That's called interest. So when you're paying back money, you can only pay back the money borrowed. You can't pay back interest because you did not borrow interest. So when you're making the mortgage payment, technically you're only talking about the principal payment because you're paying back money. You can't pay back interest. You just pay interest. You're not paying it back. Does that make sense, everybody? Put a yes or no if that makes sense. I'm hoping I'm making sense. So when you're taking a look at this, I'm paying back the $400,000 that I borrowed, but because the bank paid the $400,000 for me, they're charging me a fee for, thank you, Ms. Byer. All right, they're charging me a fee to give them up so I can borrow that money and get my $900 a month in cash flow from this property. I bought the property, okay? Well, actually, the bank bought the property for me so that I can in turn charge rent so that I can make in excess of $900 a month because after my expenses. So now the bank says, because we put you in a position so that you can make your $900 a month, you make your $10,800 a year. Let's put that back on the screen. So that you can make your $10,800 a year, we're going to charge you a fee for that, okay? And let's take a look at the fee and how it's constructed. And this is what we need to pay attention to. That fee, folks, that fee right now, when I make that very first payment on line one, I'm actually paying back to the bank the money I borrowed, $398.20 out of that very first payment. What? Let's break this down one more time. I'm making a payment of $2,398.20. That's my payment. But out of that money, I'm paying back what I borrowed, and out of that, I'm only giving the bank $398.20. I'm paying that back to the bank. And they're saying, Don, because I loaned you the money, I am now going to charge you $2,000 this month because I loaned you the money so that you can make $900 on the front end. I'm going to charge you $2,000 on the back end so that only $398 of the money you just gave me goes to pay down your loan. Now, if we break it down that way, here's my question. I'm purchasing equity. So the bank bought all the equity in this thing. The bank owns the equity. I'm purchasing it back from them. I want my $398.20 in equity. I have it, but they're going to charge me $2,000 for the equity I'm purchasing back from the bank. So you tell me, do you believe that $2,000 is way too much to pay for that? Even though I'm cash flowing $900 a month on the front end. Is that $2,000 a month too much to pay? Oh my goodness. I see you in here, Giovanni. I see you in here. And you guys know where to go. You guys know you can watch this on YouTube. So I need some comments here. Is $2,000 a month too much to pay for the privilege of borrowing money from the bank so they can purchase my equity and I can buy it back from them because I don't have $400,000 to plop down on this property. So they're providing a service for me at $2,000 a month. Oh my gosh. Giovanni said, that's way too much. Way too much money. Way too much. Come on, everybody. Let's get in here. So now let's do the math on how the money that my tenants are giving me, the monies that my tenants are giving me, let's break down the math on what the percentages are that they're giving me. So we bring up our calculator again. On that very first payment, $2,000 goes to interest. My total payment on this is $2398.20. That's my total mortgage payment. So I'm going to divide it by 2398.20. I get 0.833. In other words, that's about 83% of the payment that my tenants gave me. 83% of that money that is keeping me in the property, 83% of it goes to the bank. They're saying, listen, because I put you in a position, I want, when you're paying me back, I want 83% of the money. I want the 83% of the money to go to me, and you get 17% of the money that pays for the house. And the bank says, I think that's a fair deal. Now you tell me, once we break it down this way, is that a fair deal that the bank gets 83% of the payment and we get 17% of the payment? Or if you break it down another way, out of every dollar your tenants gave you to pay the mortgage so that you can purchase back the equity from the bank, out of that money, 83 cents out of every dollar paid for interest, went to the bank, profit in their hot little hands. They're giving, listen, you're putting 83% of your money in there, times how many mortgages do they have? Millions upon millions of mortgages. And when people pay their payments, whether it's real estate, whether it's investment money, or whether it's for their personal home, 83% or 83 cents out of every dollar goes to them because they provided a service for you. That is outrageous. And how do they get to that number? Oh man, listen, folks, we're going to get some education today. How do they get to that number where they can charge us 83 cents out of every dollar and we're okay with it? Why are we okay with it? Because we're not okay with it any other way. We're not okay with it any other way. What do you mean? Well, the next time you go to the grocery store, you have so much money to spend, but you know how much food you need to buy. You know how much food you need to buy for your family for the next week or the next 2 weeks. So when you say, I need to bring home a certain amount of food, all right? But you're going to take a boatload of dollars to the grocery store. Out of every dollar you're using to buy food, I want 83 cents of it to be thrown away. And you buy your food with 17 cents out of every dollar. So out of every dollar you take to the grocery store, all of that food in your one basket or your two baskets, however many baskets you have, okay? 17 cents out of every dollar is paying for your food. Is that how you want to spend your food dollar? You tell me, where 83 cents of it goes away and you're only spending 17 cents out of every food dollar to purchase food. Is that what you want to, is that how you want to spend your money, folks? I'm looking in the chat. I want to see if that's how you want to spend your money. All right. If you go to the gas station, all right, 83 cents out of every dollar you spend for gas, only 17 cents out of every dollar goes into the gas tank. 17 cents worth of gas goes into your gas tank out of every dollar you spend. Is that how you want to spend your money? And you would say, absolutely not. Absolutely, I do not. But why do we put up with it? Why do we put up with it from the bank? R.L. Chance says, no, Uh, no, it ain't. He says he doesn't want to spend his money that way. R.L. Chan says, I don't want to spend my money that way. Deanna Whitley says, totally not. But folks, we are conditioned to spend our money this way. R.L. Chance is here. He's watching us on Facebook this morning. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning. I have another Facebook user. I don't know your name, but thank you for being here this morning. And I want to thank everybody who's in here from Clubhouse as well. I don't want to spend my money that way. So, folks, let me tell you something. If you don't want to buy your food that way, if you don't want to buy your groceries that way, if you don't want to buy your gasoline that way, if we don't want to spend our money that way at all, where 83% of it is lost, and we're trying to do the best we can with only 17% of it, but somehow we've been convinced that's the way to buy property. And it's okay, because everybody else is doing it, because it's not being taught in school. Listen, I need a comment from you right now, because I just got back from Houston, where we actually taught this to eighth graders, and the eighth graders got so excited about the fact that we don't want that anymore. We don't want that for ourselves. Our parents are spending money like that, but we don't want that for ourselves. The eighth graders got excited, and I gave them my book. All right. I had them look up the book. I said, I told the eighth, because, they have phones now. Eighth graders have phones, and they had them in the room. I said, look up my book on your phone or on your computer. Okay. And I said, how much does my book cost? And they looked down there and they said, $50, $49.95, $50. I said, yeah. Okay. And when I showed them what I showed them, I said, the information is contained in the book. And then I opened up my case, and I had a book for each and every one of them. You should have seen their faces light up. Can you imagine eighth graders being excited about learning about finance from this point of view, something that should be taught in eighth grade? We can teach it so eighth graders can get it. Middle schoolers can get it. And do you know, they got so excited about this, they got that book. I signed each and every one of them, and they took it home. And I heard from Coffee Brown today that one of those kids said they told their parents what I said in the classroom, that the parents are spending their inheritance on interest. Oh my goodness. And oh man, so the kids get it. The kids get it. Then why don't we get it? Because we're conditioned not to get it. We're conditioned to think this is okay. And folks, it's not okay. It's never been okay. But no one has had a class on it. Have you ever had a class on it? I'm looking at Hosea here. I'm looking at Dina in here on Clubhouse. Have you ever had a class on this anywhere where this was pointed out to us? Well, Don, what can we do about it if we don't want to spend this kind of money? We don't want 83%. Why? What do we do about it? And I got to ask this question to even get there. Why is it that we don't know about it? How come we don't know? Why isn't this taught? There's something when something is being held back, when something this glaring is being withheld from the educational system, something that eighth graders can literally learn. If you had learned this in eighth grade, you would not be paying interest like you're doing it now. So if eighth graders can grasp it, why isn't it being taught to eighth graders? Because this system, an amortized loan, makes a lot of money for the banks. And we don't know how to do it any differently because we're not taught how it works. I'm going to put something else on the screen here. So let me open up a new tab, and then we're going to put in we're going to spell out amortization, okay? And we're going to click on amortization formula. We're putting that on the screen. Here's your amortization formula, folks. This thing was invented by a guy named Fibonacci in the 16th century. we've had this formula to help us to pay for these houses, to pay for these loans, to get a mortgage. The bank started using this formula to amortize loans in 1934, 89 years ago. And in 89 years, we haven't brought the information that is contained in this thing into the classroom so that we can understand how to borrow money on our credit cards, borrow money for car loans, borrow money for mortgages, borrow money for student loans. Because it makes so much money, it'll continue to make money because of the lack of knowledge about how it really works. It is very strong in making money. But folks, there is a glaring weakness in this formula. If you're watching this on screen right now, there's a weakness in this formula in the way that it makes money because it charges interest every single month. And because of the way it charges interest every single month, when we see 6%, it really isn't 6%. Let me go back to how they do it, because once we learn how they do it, once the kids see it, they say, oh no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. We don't want to do that. Let's go back. Let's put the calculator on the screen, and I'm going to show you how they get all of that money. Okay, here's how they get it. Here's the calculator on the screen. So we're going to clear that out. They don't use the 6% and multiply it by how much you borrowed. It's not 6% of $400,000. Okay, because if you take $400,000, okay, you take $400,000 and you multiply it by 0.06, which is 6%. This is what you get. You get $24,000. $24,000 is 6% of $400,000. Lil, raising your hand. Let's see what you got to say this morning. Invite you to speak. Come on up if you got a question or a comment. All right. Come on up if you have a question or a comment. All right, Miss Lil. How are you doing this morning? Click on that microphone in the lower right-hand corner. You can unmute yourself. Oh, decided not to stay. That's okay. All right. Come back when you can. All right, folks. So do you see what we're talking about here? This is what this is all about. Okay. So Sharon says Don will be recorded. I need to read. Oh yeah. Sharon, you can always Sharon, listen, didn't I just talk to you? Yeah, you can. This is, as soon as we're done, this is up on YouTube, and you can watch it over and over and over again. In fact, we have over 200 shows, Sharon, that you can watch. What do you think about that? And they stay up. They stay up forever. This is the beauty of using live video to teach, especially in this format, because it stays up forever. It is called evergreen content. Evergreen content. After I put this up today, after we're all done, guess what? Tonight, when I'm sleeping, somebody is going to be watching this video, and I'm asleep. Okay? But I'm just glad you all are right here right now. All right. So Strategic Secret says teaching right here. Okay. All right. So listen, let's continue here. So I've got this on the screen here. Okay. $24,000. That's 6%. So how does the bank make $463,352 over 30 years on when we're thinking 6% of the $400,000 is only $24,000? How do they make $463,000? All right. If you want to know how they do it, how they take something that should only make 24,000 and they make 463,000. If you want to know how they do it, go ahead and online or in Clubhouse, go ahead and put a number 9 in the chat. Put a number 9 in the comment section, put a number 9 in the chat. All right. Okay. Deanna Whitley said, what's your Facebook page? Oh, she said, never mind. I got it. Okay. Just listen. If you search P.I.L.L method on any, on any, a social media platform, you'll find us. All right. Because we're there. All right. I think we're on every one that's popular except Pinterest. We're not on Pinterest, but every other one we are. Okay. So she's got it. She's watching us on Facebook. You can watch us on YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can watch us live. All right. So put in if you want to see how the bank takes something that should only make 24,000 and they're making 463,000, put a number 9 in the chat and I will show you how they are doing it. All right. All right. Dwayne Jenkins. All right. Jenkins says, listen, they want to know. Brenda Jackson wants to know. Anybody else want to know? I see 2 number 9s here. I don't see any number 9s in I take that back. Deanna Joy Whitley says number 9. She's watching us on Facebook. Susan Smith is watching us on Facebook. And listen, folks, if you're online right now, if you're on Facebook, share this out to your family and friends. Send it all out to your whole thing, to your whole people that are the whole of the people that are following you. All right. At Comanche 1313 says number 9, watching us from YouTube. Excellent. Follow us on all social media. Follow us. Click that notification bell. So when we're here live, we're going to be here. Oh, by the way, let me put it up. We're not going to be live next week. All right. I'm going to be in Dubai. So you also want to follow me on Instagram. Follow the P.I.L.L method on Instagram and you'll be able to see us live, our pictures from Dubai. But if you want to have P.I.L.L method content during this time, you'll still have it because we're going to be doing some of our best replays that are going to be up next week. You will not be without the P.I.L.L method. We're going to be doing some of our best replays. So, okay. So Deanna Whitley says, okay, but then just go to Facebook because, oh, okay. You're right. It is different. It's different. So if you're watching this, you want to turn down the volume. If you're watching it on a different device, turn down the volume on your device and use your Clubhouse for your audio if you're using 2 different devices. All right. All right. So now I got enough numbers. I got enough number 9s. So here's what they're doing. That formula that you see here. Okay. When you break the formula down, what the formula does, it says, listen, 1/12 of your interest rate. Listen, I don't see that in here, but it's in here. 1/12 of the interest rate. We're going to take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply it by the monthly balance. And that's going to give us the interest cost on the next line. Okay. So on the very first payment, so they're going to take the very first payment, $400,000, and then they're going to figure out how much interest I pay and how much principal I pay. And this is how they're going to do it. So let me bring up my calculator again. So we're going to take 0.06 divided by 12 equals 0.005. We're going to multiply that by $400,000. So multiply that by $400,000. This is how they do it. $400,000 equals exactly $2,000 in interest. They take 1/12 of the interest rate and then figure out how much interest I need to pay. And the rest goes to principal. So the principal payment is in that calculation as well. All right. So now the next month, you don't owe that much because we have to subtract the $398.20. Now we owe $399,601.80. They do the same thing the next month. Let's do it again. Okay. 1/12 of the interest rate, 0.06, divided by 12. We get our 0.005 again, multiply it by the next balance, which is $399,601.80. Divided. Okay, we're going to multiply it by 399,601.8 equals $1,998 and a penny. You see this 0.9? They round that up to the next penny. Look at that. It's exactly this. $1,998 and a penny. So, folks, it is not one mortgage multiplied by the 6%. It's 360 separate mortgages because it's 360 payments. 360 separate mortgages multiplied by the 0.005 every single month for 360 months. It's not one mortgage. It's 360 separate mortgages. That's why they can charge us so much money, because we have never been taught how it works. I taught this to 8th graders and they got it. They got it. There was no argument. All there was, I don't want to do that. But when I show this to adults, sometimes there's pushback when I show this to adults, because we have been conditioned to give our money to the bank when we don't have to. We will do this because everybody else is doing it. We'll do it because everybody else is doing it. No one is challenging this. And folks, let me tell you something. You will not see this from Susie Orman. You will not see this from Dave Ramsey. You will not see this from any other financial guru right now, because they have not been taught this from the beginning. And they can have so much invested. Once they do know, they have so much invested in their services that they're providing, they can't change it. It's too costly to change once the truth is out. How many of you are familiar with the controversy between direct current and alternating current? Okay, so when it came to direct current, Edison was heavily invested in direct current, providing electric utility to cities. Okay, Edison was heavily invested in that. Then here comes Tesla. All right, here comes Tesla that says, you know what? Alternating current is much more efficient and cheaper. And you can broadcast, you can send alternating current for miles without a substation. But when you use direct current, you had to have a lot of substations because it would only go a few blocks. So when Nikola Tesla, who worked for Edison, came up with this idea, Edison had nothing to do with it. Why? Not because it wasn't better. It is because he was so heavily invested in his current program that he wasn't going to switch over now. He would have to tear everything out, build everything up again so that he could put in alternating current. But he wasn't willing to do that. He was making too much money at using direct current, and all of his customers knew nothing about alternating current. And that's how Nikola Tesla started his downfall, because other people didn't have his best interest at heart. Nikola Tesla died almost penniless because he was willing to give the information away as opposed to trying to make a lot of money. And it hurt him dearly. So here's what I'm saying, folks. So even though your financial experts may see these videos and the numbers are true, they're not going to switch what they're doing because now we've got to retool. We got to reprint. We got all these books out here. We've been telling people to use the debt snowball for years. And now we got to tell them that the debt snowball is inefficient. They're not going to do that. There's too much money at stake. If you're driving up 65 from Huntsville, up 65 towards Nashville, Dave Ramsey has a brand new building on the side of the side of the road. You can see it from the highway. It's huge, based on this information he's been teaching for years. So this is why he can't start teaching this, because he's got too much invested in the other thing. Does that make sense to everybody? So let me talk about this. So every month we are paying this kind of money based on an amortization schedule that if we had learned in 8th grade, we would know what to do about it. So now that has been set, if you want to learn how you can defeat this amortization schedule, and this is why the banks don't want you to know this, because I'm getting ready to reveal the weakness in this system. If you want to see the weakness in this system, I need you to put number 8s in the chat. And we're going to give you that time to put number 8s in the chat, because we're going to listen. It's time for us to take a little break here. And we're going to bring on Dr. Eric Thomas, who found out about the P.I.L.L method, paid off his mortgage, and helped his wife make feel better and stress-free. So while we're going through that, you put number 8s in the chat, and I will reveal to you the weakness in the system and how you don't have to pay the mortgage the way that they're telling you to. And I will show you how you don't have to give away 80% of your money, 80% of your profits. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. Let's hear from Dr. Eric Thomas right now.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
The number one motivational speaker in the entire world, Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip hop preacher, learned the secret. He's got the cheat code. And listen, if a guy like him has learned the cheat code and said the P.I.L.L method is the thing to do, I think we all need to know what's happening with the P.I.L.L method and teaching people what 8th graders learned last week. What 8th graders learned last week, we need to know as well. So we have a bunch of 8s in here. We've got DeJohn Gibby said 8. R.L. Chance said 8. Strategic Secrets said 8. Okay, David Hunt said 8. All right, and Clubhouse, Steve Mack said 8. Mackenzie said Great said 8. So everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know where the weakness lies in this system. All right, Comanche 1313 says 8. All right, everybody wants to know what is the secret here. What is the cheat code? What is it that the banks don't want us to know? Why isn't this being taught in 8th grade? Because there's a huge gap in this system that you can drive a truck through. This is why it's not being taught. Let's break it down. So we're just pretending we're making that very first payment in January. If you want to know what's going on, if you want to see this, if you're new to the room, go on another device and go to and find your YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L Method, and you can see our live broadcast, and you can see these numbers. Oh, by the way, don't forget to subscribe, like some of the videos, okay? And while you're at it, click that notification bell so that anytime we have a new video coming up, you will know about it, okay? So out of that payment, $398.20 goes to principal, $2,000 goes to interest. Here is the weakness. When $398.20 goes to principal, you're paid down to $399,601.80 on line one, and then the bank uses the principal balance to figure out how much interest to charge on the very next line. Okay? Keep this in mind. When the bank sees the principal balance, they know how much interest to charge on the very next line using that formula that I gave you. 1/12 of the interest rate times the unpaid balance. We know how much interest to pay on the very next line. So watch this. Now this isn't the P.I.L.L method. This is just helping us to understand what's going on with these numbers. If we take that payment in January, we don't owe another payment till February. If we're looking at this schedule, we can see February's principal payment is $400.19 because the bank says, if you wait till February, I'm going to take this $399,000. I'm going to multiply it by 0.005. I'm going to charge you $1,998 and a penny out of the interest because the interest comes out first. And the rest of the money, the $400.19, will go to principal. But do you have to wait till February to give the bank the $400.19? All right, Comanche 1313 says, pay the principal amount for the next month's payment. Oh, Comanche, whoa, 1313 says, listen, they found out what the weakness is right here just by looking at it. Says, take the $400.19 and pay it early. You don't have to wait till February. If you give the bank this money early, you're paid down to here, the $399,201.61. You're paid down to there early in January. And if you're paid down to there in January, then the bank has to look at this number, the $399,201.61, that will give them this interest payment on line 3. So by giving the bank the $400 early, you totally eliminate line 2 on the amortization schedule. It's gone. It's been canceled. And the interest payment that you would have had to make, the $1,998 and a penny, you just saved it. You just reduced your overall interest cost on the entire loan by nearly $2,000. That's the weakness. This is what the kids learned in Houston last week. This is what got them so excited that they could take this home to their parents and that their parents can pay off their mortgages, their student loans, their credit cards, all of that debt in about 7 years instead of 30 years to never, because the kids found out in 8th grade that they don't have to pay interest like this now. And they also found out that where the parents can go ahead and watch the videos and get caught up on all of this. I love talking to the students because they don't have to unlearn what we have learned. So listen, let's take this a little bit further. We make a payment in January. We prepay the $400.19, and our next mortgage payment for February is actually on line 3. Look at that. It works just like that. What if we paid our payment in January and gave the bank the next 3 principal payments, the $400.19, the $402.19, and the $404.20? What if we gave the bank those 3 principal payments also in January on top of our mortgage payment. Do you realize what would happen? We would save this interest payment we never have to pay, and this interest payment. Nearly $6,000 in interest has just been wiped off the bank's books. We will not have to pay that. And our next mortgage payment for February is now on line 5. Do you see why this is not being taught in schools right now? Do you see why it's not being taught? Does it make sense to you now why it's not being taught? Do you think things ought to change so we can teach it? Do you know if you have the power to make that change? Being an affiliate of the P.I.L.L method, you have the power to make that change. You have the power to get me to come into your city, into your church, bring me into your child's school. You have the power to make that happen. Everybody needs to know this. To your social organization, everybody needs. I'm looking for speaking engagements right now. If you have a seminar on finances, if you know of a conference anywhere, and they need this kind of information, you can contact our staff at the P.I.L.L method, and you can make arrangements to have me come in as a keynote speaker for your conference. Oh my goodness. What kind of waves could you make if more people knew this? All right. So here's where we are, folks. Now that we know where the weakness lies, let's see, if we don't realize the weakness, how we're giving away 80% of our money. When you make a mortgage payment, when you make this mortgage payment, $2,000 goes to interest. That's 83 cents. That's 83 cents out of every dollar. 83 cents out of every dollar going to interest, 17 cents going to the mortgage. Let's look at the first year. I see another comment here. All right. DeJohn Gibby, what are you saying? The banks and other financial services are trying to justify their service fee. Time to stop this nonsense. Thanks, P.I.L.L method. Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying what you're saying. I do appreciate it. All right, folks, I'm getting energized here. So what we have here is something that we can learn. Let's take a look at what's going on. I need you to take a look at 1 year on this mortgage. If you're a real estate investor, if you are a home buyer, I need you to take a look at 1 whole year. You got cumulative principal and you got cumulative interest. Look at that. Cumulative principal and cumulative interest in 1 year. Out of all the money that your tenants are giving you, remember, you're cash flowing the $900 on the front end, $10,800 a year that you have to pay taxes on. But they're also giving you $4,912.02, okay? Because that money came from your tenants. And they also gave you the interest that you paid, the $23,866.38. We're going to add those two together. $23,866.38. Uh-oh. I hit a wrong button here. All right. 23,866.38. There we go. And we're going to multiply, we're going to add that to the $4,000 that went to principal, the $4,912. $4,912.02 equals $28,778.40. Our tenants just gave us a total of $28,778 in monies on top of the $900 we were able to take home every month after we paid the bills. But they gave us $28,000. Out of that money, $23,000 of it went to interest. And only $4,900 went to pay back the loan. $4,900. Wow. So when we add up, when we take the 20, I'm going to write this down, 28, 7, okay, $28,778.40. Okay, I wrote that down in my notes. Let's look at the percentages here after 1 year if we don't do anything about this. Our interest is 23,000. Clear this out. 23,866.38. That is what we have here. All right. And then we're going to divide it by our total amount of money that went to the bank. We gave the bank a total of $28,778.40. When we divide it by that, we see it's 82.829. It's still 83 cents. A year later, we're still giving out 83% of our money. 83 cents out of every dollar went to the bank, and we're happy with the $10,800 we took home. But 83 cents of the money out of every payment dollar that we gave to the bank went up in smoke in interest, and only 17 cents paid down this loan after an entire year. We just gave away over 80% of our money, and we didn't have to. Oh my goodness. How is it that we're doing that? Okay, now let's take a look at this. Let me give you a little example. All right. I'm just saying, what we could do about it. If you're a real estate investor, you're putting some money aside. You're putting some money aside for repairs and maintenance. Let's just say that as a real estate investor, you have about 25 grand in the bank. Got 25 grand in the bank. Sitting in the bank, it's sitting in a savings account, and it's making what? Less than 1%, about 1/10 of 1%. That's how much money that money is making sitting in the bank. It might as well just be in a shoebox. You see what I mean? So we have $25,000 in the bank. You got more than enough money to make sure that you have money for repairs and maintenance. Could you, if you wanted to, could you borrow about $5,000 from your $25,000 you have sitting in the bank? Could you apply this principal amount for 1 year? You don't have to pay this $49,1202 over 12 months at $300 and $400 a month. You don't have to do that. If you had it, could you give it to the bank in 1 month? Could you give it to the bank in 1 month if you had it? The bank would have to subtract that money from what you owe if you gave it to them in 1 month. So let's do the math. Let's put on here the calculator, $400,000. That's $400,000. We're going to subtract the $49,1202. Okay. We're subtracting $49,12.02 equals $395,087.98. Folks, that's the exact same number that's on line 12 of this amortization schedule. If we give the bank that $49,12 in 1 month instead of over 12 months, we're borrowing it from our stash and applying it to the loan. And wouldn't we be paid down to here in 1 month and eliminate the interest cost between line 2 and line 12? That's a total interest savings of $21,888.84. Whew! Do you want to know what the return on that investment is? Would you like to see those numbers? Because see, when you see the numbers, it becomes real. The return on investment is this. Here's how much money I just saved. I'm saving $21,000. $888.84. That's how much I'm saving. But I'm investing $49.12 that I got out of my bank account. All right. I borrowed about almost $5,000 from my bank account, which had $25,000 in it. I borrowed that. So now I'm going to invest that into my mortgage. I'm going to give it to the mortgage early. I take control of the timing. You can take control of the timing that you give the money to the bank. Let the bank control the timing. You pay a lot of interest. You take the control into your own hands. You save a lot of money. So we're going to divide it by the 49.1202. Divide it by 49.12.02 equals, look at here, you got to move the decimal point 2 places. Look at here. When you move it to here, that's 446% return on your money. Where else are you going to get a 446% return on your money by doing this, by saving that interest? So now that you know this, if you're a real estate investor and you have the money available, can you justify now paying $23,866 of the money your tenants gave you just to pay down your principal by $4,900, even though all that money was given you? If you are a behavioral economist, then you're going to look at this as what they call house money, or the effect that when you apply it this way, you say the money that my tenants gave me, not as valuable as my money that I'm bringing to the table. I earned that money. I put in the time for that money, but my tenants are giving me this money. So I look at that money as less valuable than the money I already have. So I'm okay with taking 80% of the client's money that they gave me, 83 cents of it, and just throwing it away. I'm okay with that because of how I feel about it. It's time out. I'm trying to give us a new feeling about throwing away 83 cents, even though somebody gives it to you. If somebody gives you money, just because they give it to you, it's not okay to throw away 83 cents of every dollar that they give you just so that you can keep 17 cents. It's not okay. There's something that you can do about that. So if I could give the bank their money and save $21,000, I don't have to give them. Now I have my equity in 1 month. I didn't pay $23,000 for it. I paid only $2,000 for it on the first line. I saved $21,888. So if I keep track of all that money I just saved, if I keep track of all the money I saved, what then could I do with it? I've got one more example to show you here, folks. What if I could reduce this by, instead of giving the bank 80%, what if I could reduce my interest cost by 80%? Here's how much interest they want: $463,352. So if I put that in my calculator, if I could reduce that by 80%, watch this. 463,352. That's what they want over 30 years. But if I can subtract 80% of that money, so we're going to subtract 80% of it, then I'm going to save $370,681.60 I don't have to pay. That's $370,000 I get to save to purchase the same property. If I can purchase the same property and save $370,000 in interest I don't have to pay by using a system that makes sure that I save the maximum amount of interest per dollar, then I could take that $370,000 and invest it along with the other monies I'm making. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the compound interest on $370,000 over 30 years? Interest I didn't have to pay the bank? Folks, now we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars, especially if you have more than one property and you don't have to give the bank the money that they're looking for. Millions upon millions of dollars in interest earned through compound interest, because you're now using the money to grow your net worth, create generational wealth, stop giving it to the bank, and invest it in your family. Oh man, let's take another break here, folks. Let's take another break right here. Listen, if you want to know more about how to do this, go to the link above. Go to the link above and click that link and get a savings and earnings report today. If you are a real estate investor, you have one property or several properties, let me know. If you are a home buyer and you have one or two properties, it doesn't matter. You can get what's called a savings and earnings report today. Just the link ice10k.com. If you are online, you can see it as ICE. It stands for Interest Cancellation Expert, and you can start icing your loans. Okay. Interest cancellation eliminates extra interest. Interest cancellation eliminates up to 80% of the interest cost. Interest cancellation eliminates your inability to make extra profits because you're giving away money to the banks. So go and get your savings and earnings report today. And listen, I charge $150 to do a consultation on this. You send in, you go here, go to that link. It'll take you to the website. Click on the button that says get a savings and earnings report. Follow the directions, and it will let you into our financial form. Folks, when you put your cell phone number into the form, make sure that there's no spaces at all. Okay, no spaces in your phone number. We already supplied the +1. When you put your cell phone number in, make sure that there's no spaces in there. Okay, so put your cell phone number in and then verify it. We're going to send you a code as a message. Then when you get the code from your messages, put the code into the program and then click on I want to save now. It'll let you into a financial form. Put all the financial data in there that we asked for. It's not very much. And then you can know the month, day, and year you could be debt free and how we can help you individually and come up with a strategy just for you. We can do that for you. I charge $150 to do that consultation. If you don't get $150 worth out of that consultation, just tell me. I'll give it right back to you. I just push the button, however you send it, and I'll push it right back. Okay? But if you like what you see, then we're going to tell you how much interest you're going to save, and then we're going to show you the percentage of the interest money that you're going to save that's going to pay for your lifetime program that you can pay once for and use over and over and over and over again for the rest of your life, paying off mortgage after mortgage after mortgage after mortgage for the rest of your life. And not only that, folks, we guarantee our results. We guarantee that the program will always work or you don't pay. We guarantee that you will have for the rest of your life customer service. Customer service is going to be involved in this thing that you can call and ask questions, not leave a message and somebody calls you back, not email customer service where you get the answer 2 or 3 days later and you don't need it anymore. You call an 800 number and talk to someone in this country about your problem. Fully staffed customer service right there for you. These are the things that this is the kind of service that we're offering you. that you can now take control of your finances and stop giving that money away. And if you're excited about what you just learned, if you're excited about what you learned and you want to become part of the P.I.L.L Method family, you can become a P.I.L.L Method affiliate. Click on the same link and fill out the affiliate portion. It takes about 15 seconds, and then you can become an affiliate as well. As you share this information with others, point them to our YouTube channel so that they can see what's going on. They can see what's going on and then follow up with them 48 hours later. 24 to 48 hours later. And then if they want more information, then fill out the referral portion. Send us that referral. When they become a client, we'll send you out $300. Folks, you can't beat that with a stick. All right. Now, also, if you want to know more about this, get my book. We're going to put the book on the screen now. Get the book, folks. This is the book I gave out to the 8th graders. 8th graders. I mean, in one of the classes I talked to, they literally stood up and applauded. Come on, 8th graders. And listen, in one class I went into, there were a couple of kids in there that were a little sleepy. But once I got started, they woke right up. Can you imagine 8th graders getting excited about finances and a book that was given to them and I signed for them? They absolutely loved it. They were all in. If 8th graders can understand it, then so can their parents. Come on, folks. Let's stop spending our children's inheritance on interest and start investing that money in our families. So you can start by getting the book today. Get that book and start teaching your children as well. All right, folks. The last thing here, the last thing I want to tell you is next week we're going to be off. All right, we're going to be off for. We're going to be back here Friday live. All right, but all next week we're going to be off. We're going to be back the following Wednesday. So we won't be live, but follow me on Instagram, follow P.I.L.L Method on Instagram, and you'll get to see a lot of the fun that we're having in Dubai. It's going to be great. All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming in. I didn't see any hands raised to come up. If anybody has a final question, please raise your hand because we're getting ready to say goodbye to everybody today. Listen, if you're a real estate investor, stop giving away 80% of your profits. Take that money and invest it. Turn that money that you would have given to the bank into millions of dollars for yourself using compound interest or investing in other real estate. It is not necessary to keep doing what we've been doing forever, only because the education didn't exist. The education now exists. Over 200 episodes of this show are right here on YouTube. And I'm excited to bring it to you. Listen, folks, we brought on somebody else, a new member of the team. We brought on Mr. R.L. Chance. He is taking over. He's taking over our email, and he is making sure that we can broadcast anything that we're doing in the P.I.L.L Method to our entire email list. And we're going to be bringing some special offers to you. He's going to make sure that you are up to date on whatever is new in the P.I.L.L Method. He's going to make sure that if there's a better way to save money, you're going to know about it. So he's taken over that part of he's taken over part of that marketing team. And if you want to know more about it, folks, if you want to know more about how this works, then you will be able to get those emails as well. And we're glad to have Pastor R.L. Chance on our team, making sure that we can stay in touch with you. So, folks, thank you so very much for being here. We're going to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas one more time as we say goodbye, and I'll see you again on Wednesday. So I don't see any other questions in here, but I do want to thank William, Stacy, Letitia, Nicole, Mackenzie, some others, everybody that's on stage, Lashana, everybody that came in here today. I want to thank everybody that joined us online as well. Thank you so very much. And we'll see you on today is Wednesday. We'll be right back here on Friday. All right. You're so welcome, Deanna Joy Whitley, for she says, thank you so much for this info. All right, folks. See you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.